The Cincinnati Bengals are bringing in veteran running back Leonard Fournette for a workout. Interesting move here considering that they just traded for Khalil Herbert, and Chase Brown has looked pretty good. But Fournette is only 29 and he's been a free agent for the past year. He played 2 games for the Bills a year ago, didn't really do much there. But of course, he's a Super Bowl champion with Tom Brady on the Buccaneers. He also had a good career with the Jaguars prior to signing with the Bucs. His totals for his career are 6,737 yards and 41 touchdowns in 7 years in the NFL. Of course, for the Bengals, Zach Moss is probably out for the foreseeable future with a scary neck injury. Anytime an RB or anybody has a neck injury, their career is in serious jeopardy. But we'll see how that plays out. Hope he's okay. But yeah, I guess the Bengals just want a tad more depth at the RB position. Chase Brown has looked pretty good so far. He's got 521 yards on the season with 5 touchdowns. And he's also a good pass catcher, and that's great for an RB. And Khalil Herbert, I've watched him on the Bears. I paid close attention to him. He did nice work for me on my fantasy football team 2 years ago when he got a chance to start for Chicago. I think that dude can play. He just needs to be given the right opportunity, and I'm sure Bengals fans will see that in doses. But yeah, I don't hate this move. I don't know how much Fournette has in the tank. You know, that playoff run with the Bucs when they went and won the bowl was quite some time ago, so I don't know if he's probably not that explosive guy. But if they want a guy in short yardage situations, kind of like what the Cowboys have with Zeke Elliott right now, I guess it's not a bad signing. But yeah, man, we'll see what happens there. Let me know if you would sign Fournette, or would you add another RB, or would you rather add a defensive player? I think I'd rather add some sort of corner or defensive player, but I don't know. I'd have to check the market and see who's available. But yes, the Cincinnati Bengals lost another heartbreaking game against the Baltimore Ravens. Both of those games were just games of the year. First one, of course, ended in overtime in Cincinnati. They really should have won that game, and they should have won this game as well. Had a decent lead, and the Bengals just found a way to come back and win. Pretty crazy game. Pretty crazy game for Thursday Night Football especially. So as of right now, the Bengals are 1 game back from the Broncos. They're 4-6, and they actually have a 42% chance of making the playoffs, and apparently the Broncos have a 26% chance. For the Bengals' sake, Bengals must have loved the result of the Broncos and the Chiefs game, because if the Broncos would have nailed that field goal, those odds of making the playoffs would be significantly different. I feel like the Bengals would be a lot lower, probably like 19% at making the playoffs. But we'll see what happens here, man. I feel like if the Bengals make the playoffs, they're just kind of like a trippy team. I feel like anything is possible with that team. Kind of like an Eli Manning-esque team, except without the defense. Joe Burrow is quietly having a phenomenal season. Kind of in the MVP consideration, except his team just does not have the record to really back it up. If the Bengals were like a top 5 team right now with a good record, I really think Joe Burrow would be the favorite to win MVP, right up there with Lamar Jackson, which I'm sure Lamar will probably win it again, which I think he should. He's playing different this year, man. There's just a different kind of feel to his game, and I think we're all seeing that. But yeah, if the Bengals do make the playoffs, as of right now, they would play the Bills in Buffalo. I think that's a winnable game. I really, really do. Anything is possible with an elite quarterback and an elite receiver with Jamar Chase. Also, Chase Brown is looking good as well. It's just that defense has to step it up. And I know they kind of did, especially that first half of that Ravens game. Who knows? Maybe they're making some progressions as the season slowly kind of wraps up to a certain extent. So if you're a Bengals fan, you got to keep praying. You got to keep hoping that eventually they just get their stuff together and put up more complete games in the future. But we'll see, man. But if the Bengals are going to want any chance at making the playoffs, they have a huge Sunday Night Football game at LA. I think that's a really winnable game. I think Joe Burrow will put on a show once again. And, that defense, I don't think they're going to deal with the hardest of tasks this upcoming week. I know Herbert and the Chargers offense has been efficient, but I think they could handle them. It should be a high-scoring game just because of that defense, but it's a very winnable game, and that's a must-win game. Every game for the Bengals from here on out is a must-win. So yeah, huge game. Sunday Night Football should be a fun one. Week 12, they have their bye. And then following their bye, they're at home against Pittsburgh. So that extra time to prepare for Russell Wilson and company. Again, I think that's a winnable game too. You have the extra time. The Steelers' offense has looked good. I just think as long as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are clicking, anything is possible. Then they're at the Cowboys. I feel like that's easily a win. I hope. And then they're at the Titans, and then they're at home versus the Browns. And then a huge game against the Denver Broncos, and that will probably be the game that decides who gets the 7th seed. All they have to do is just keep up with Denver, which I think is going to be possible considering they're only one game back. And then they finish off the year in Pittsburgh. Not a terribly hard schedule for the Bengals, hence why they still have a 42% chance at making the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs, man, that's going to be a fun team to watch. Really feel like that team could go on some sort of Cinderella-esque run. They would really have absolutely nothing to lose considering how they started, and Joe Burrow would go out there like how he always does, just go out there and sling it, and I really feel like they would get good results. It's just that defense, man. They got to step up. They just got to step up. The only bad kind of news for the Bengals is that the Broncos' schedule is pretty easy in my opinion. They're at home against the Falcons. That should be a close 50-50 game. Might be an L. But then they're at Las Vegas, at home against the Browns, at home against the Colts, at LA, at Cincy, and then at the Chiefs. Raiders, Browns, Colts, that could easily be 3 wins right there, and that would take the Broncos to 8 wins. So we'll see what happens, but like I said, if you're a Bengals fan, you got to be marking December 29th on your calendar at Cincy, Denver Broncos, Cincinnati Bengals. I'm assuming that will be for the 7th seed of the AFC playoffs. Definitely going to be looking forward to that one. Let me know if you think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. Do you think they should sign Fournette? And if you made this far, please subscribe. It'd help out your boy a ton. That's all I got for right now. Peace.